Welcome to another Tech Talk here at VMworld 2016. I have lost my voice because we've had a great time here. We've got lots of talking, lots of communication going on. But what we're here today to do is to talk about the new book and a series of IT architecture books. I am going to have Mark and Brandon and Daemon also speak, both to give me a little bit of a break because I am losing my voice, but also to talk about some of the other books as well as the series. I'll let you do a lead in. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mark Gabryjelski, and I'm a co-author of John on the IT Architecture Foundations book. And we're together we run the IT Architects series, which is the series of books focused on that.
Yep.
And really,
I'll introduce the others as well after.
And really, that goal is the enablement of other authors to go out and follow in that series and teach the approach to how we do a lot of things in the IT world, from implementation through strategy.
And my name is John Arrasjid. I'm vcdx number 1. Mark and I decided to start a series of IT architecture books because we noticed the industry did not have anything in this area. And as we did this, we reached out. Chris McCain is our third author. He has a conflict with another call right now, but we'll have him on future vBrownbags. We're going to talk today about the IT Architect series. We're going to talk about the new book, and then we're going to give an opportunity for some questions and answers. Mark, I'll let you go ahead and lead in the introductions as well for those. For our book and those, for Brandon and Daemon.
So, and for some of the additional books that are starting in the series, we've had a lot of conversations already at the vBrownbags this past few days on the IT Architecture series, and we have Brendan Hahn, and we're working towards the absolute desired book, which is Your Cloud or Mine, and we're going to have a great chance to go into some of that and some of the overview on that.
Yeah, so the Your Cloud or Mine book is really, as we look at the environment changing of not so much everyone hosting internally in your own data center, but trying to figure out where your workload should reside, whether it's on-premise, whether it's a private cloud, whether it's a managed service, whether it's a software as a service offering. There's a lot of options out there, and often it's very confusing. The purpose of this book is to provide a framework to help you look at the organization that you're with or that you're working with. What are the core competencies of that organization? How do you identify those? How do you determine where you as an IT organization can add value and where you should host your workloads accordingly? Because there's a lot of different hosting options out there, and it doesn't always make sense for every workload to be hosted the same across your organization. So the goal of the book isn't to give you a firm idea of this type of workload should always go here or this should go here, but it's to give you a decision framework to help you understand what's the thought process that you need to go through in order to make sure those workloads are hosted appropriately for the organization that you're working with.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the common questions that we get every day when we're engaging with folks is, how do you make those decisions?
Yeah, and it's something where it's a repeatable process. So the questions that you ask are the same regardless of the organization. The answers will vary, the answers will change, and where you end up hosting the workloads may change as technology advances. But even today and 5 years from today, it's going to be the same thought process that you need to understand. So that's why this is a really great topic for a book, because it's something that the thought process doesn't change. So the book, even though it's going to be coming out in the next year, it's still going to be relevant in 3 years from now. It's not like a Horizon 7 book where 3 years from now you're not going to care about it because it's all outdated technology.
That's one of my favorite points about the series is we're trying to stay away from the specifics of a software piece. Yeah, we'll use an example of Horizon 7, and like you bring up.
Yeah, and absolutely, you have to. We'll use examples based on the technology that's out today, but we want to provide a framework that will allow the book to stay current and remain relevant as those technologies change.
So let's also give Daemon a little chance to shine too, because he's got an interesting book that's falling into the series. And have you actually gotten a final title that you love yet, or are we just still talking about it as a book on risk in IT?
Well, no, the title is Designing Risk in IT Infrastructure. And the reason that I actually chose that title is because the process of looking at environment and determining your risk that you have an environment is a process where you have to not only determine what all of the considerations that you have for risk, but it's a matter of determining the costs associated with each one of those risks, the probability of each one of those risks, and the acceptance of certain risks when you're going through the process of design. So a lot of things that I look at in the book are the things that aren't normally included during the design process, such as the political climate of an organization, or what's happening in the market, or things such as what are the probability of the component failures within your environment itself. There's so many different factors that go into designing an environment that it's really important to determine what the risk and probability of each one of those things happening is. And when you go through that process, it starts uncovering more and more conversation topics with the rest of the organization. So it's a much more continual process. So the book is about expanding the horizons of the design process to include all of these other segments.
So it's not just about the risk of the tech and the single point of failure elimination, business decisions, drivers, what can I accommodate for what cost?
Exactly, and it's all part of the design process. And the reason that I'm writing this book is that that's a huge hole in the industry right now. Risk is usually the last thing that is considered during the course of the design process. And usually when a risk is involved in a design, it's something that's considered after the fact in terms of security and applying controls to change the way that something is architected. But if you can take some of the concepts that the risk management and analysis side of the industry is using, then you can actually architect the environment from the ground up to accommodate these sort of decisions, as opposed to doing it retroactively.
Yeah, so just like Brandon, there's no right answer about which cloud to go to. There's no one way to address risk in the design of a data center.
Yeah, and you know, I've seen some of the first couple chapters that Damon's been working on, and it's a really great conversation point for how do you bring risk further up front in the design process and understanding how that impacts your decisions. Because as you were mentioning, typically, you know, a lot of the risk mitigation factors are bolted on at the end, and it often leads to a suboptimal architecture that's also much more expensive to not only build but then maintain. Whereas if you can design those in up front by incorporating these thoughts into your original design process, you get a much better solution.
Exactly, and usually when risk controls are brought down onto an infrastructure, there's a certain period of time that it takes in order to apply them. Sometimes it's years, sometimes it can even be up to the course of a decade, depending on the size of the organization. And during that whole period of time where they're trying to make the changes, they're seriously at risk.
All right, so we're going to move on. We have a couple more things. I want to say thank you for these gentlemen for doing the next two series in the book, of the book series. And we have several other authors as well that we'll introduce in future vBrownbag discussions. The audience, we've got listed up here. I'll let you run through that, my voice.
So really as we start writing this series of books, it's not just the foundation, but the foundation is really the key. And that's where we addressed all of our attentions. And initially we started this out as the architects that actually are in IT, the folks that are striving for those higher level certifications. That was our initial audience as we started writing the book. Then as we started to realize and put the material together, this type of material didn't exist, so we were creating the first framework that actually existed. And we found that we could actually apply it to folks that were actually going through college and learning how to develop and actually create their first infrastructure design. And then, you know, consultants everywhere can use this as a baseline. Maybe they're looking to validate that they're doing the right by their clients and that they've considered a lot of wonderful things as part of their designs and mitigating risk and meeting the business requirements. But as they're starting out, perhaps they needed a guide to make sure that they were going and approaching things correct. Yep. So it's great from a learning tool or a validation tool. And something I never even perceived back in the day was, the PM perspective, the project manager's taking a look at this, not because they want to know everything there is about infrastructure design, but they can really look into it and see what their team and the project team that they're running is actually doing and trying to accomplish as part of it.
Okay.
And it's just an all-encompassing, from a PM perspective, it's all-encompassing, and it actually gives some synergy between the team members. It's helped my group out a lot, and it's amazing how something that you never even dream of can be accomplished by the content.
So now I want to talk a little bit about the different sections in the book. You'll see similarities with some of the other books that are in the series. We start with an introduction, give you an overview. We cover the methodology and some stories, use cases, and things like that. The core of this new book that we have just released is on an infrastructure design that includes both server and desktop virtualization. They are full document sets. They're an older version of vSphere and View on purpose, so that you can learn from other bodies of evidence, bodies of knowledge base articles, other reference architectures, and so on, to help you learn more about the methodology. And our focus is not specifically on teaching you the technology, it's actually the process. But then we go into analysis. How do you review a design? This can be of benefit not just to the architect, but somebody who is contracting with an architect. How do you make sure they're delivering the right thing? We then have how to present your design, some of the things to actually be successful and getting sign-off, whether it's your business or working with another business. And then we include a large number of tools as well. You want to add?
So, John, this is great. This is the foundation of the book, and it's great because it's, here's some samples, here's some use cases, here's how we can apply it, here's how we question ourselves and rethink the design for the future growth and future design, and then here's some use cases about how to consume it. And Brandon and Daemon have really committed to making sure that they still bring that level of accountability, that analysis, and the hands-on aspect in the cloud and the risk books that are coming out.
It's all about being able to have examples to work through and really thought process and thought exercises to be able to make you think through. The goal of a lot of those sections are to be conversational in nature. That a lot of the questions are based off the Socratic method to ask you, what about this? What about that? And the answers won't necessarily be in the book, but it's to make you think about it and consult other resources. The book isn't designed necessarily to be a standalone, you read it, you're ready for an exam. Because the exam's the real world. It's you read it to give you additional things to think about and a process to understand these are the things that I need to think about, this is the order I should be thinking about them, these are the way I should approach asking these questions as I go through these problems.
It's a challenge writing that way, right? I mean, always challenge someone to take the next step beyond, and you can't forecast what's going to be available next year.
Yeah, and the book, or the first book and the rest of the series, it really allows you to understand the mind of an architect and all of the different things that you need to consider. So anybody that is starting out or wants to go down the path of becoming an architect, whether it's vCdx or otherwise, this is foundational material, and there's nothing else like it in the market right now.
So we include a full set of documentation. This includes all the things that I described before. They include operational guides, implementation plans, test plans, validation plans, and so on. And it's there as a reference. It's there as a training tool. It's there also to help you understand what you should expect when you work with architects. If you're an admin and you don't understand this, we want to have you have the ability to say, this is what I should expect in a design. We're going to leave with, this is actually the cover for the current book. For those who are at the conference, it's available at the bookstore, but online, lulu.com is our primary publisher, and we are currently running a special, which will be available through tomorrow for $10 for the color EPUB. But we also encourage you, if you want to get a signing, we'll be around, and the bookstore still has a few more copies left. They're almost sold out. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.